If somebody had told me how exhausting it can be to prepare for just some YouTube album reviews, I might have changed my mind about doing the channel and all that. But here I am, running on through the discography of Mr. Jackson Browne. This is Murdock's Music Minute. Usually I do these short clip shows before my reviews to provide a little overview of the artist's career, or to give some context for the album I'm going to review. But I've already done 2 Jackson Browne videos, and to avoid too much boring repetition, I thought I just jump into this album straight away. It is 1977 and Browne is riding the success of his 2 albums, Late for the Sky and The Pretender, but personal or private tragedy had struck in 1976 with the suicide of his first wife. He was a sole parent now and had a growing career. In maybe not the wisest parental move, he decided to go on tour. The increasing public exposure of his music in the charts and on the radio had enabled him to recruit a top-notch backing band. And this feeling of living between the tour bus, sold-out arenas and stuffy motel rooms is what he wanted to capture with his next album, Running on Empty. This unusual live album is more a kind of musical documentary instead of your ordinary live and concert album. It features exclusively new material, but played live, and what is more, some of the recordings are not simply live on stage performances in front of an audience, but were recorded either in hotels or even on the tour bus. This is quite an extraordinary concept, and I don't know any other live album that does that. This feeling of traveling musicians is furthermore underlined by the fact that there are not only Browne originals, but also a couple of cover versions or material by other musicians included in the tracklist. Tense silence, a few motivational shouts from members of the crowd, and then suddenly the band sets in with an up-tempo, surprisingly muscular rock song. Jackson Browne opens the album with the title track. Running on Empty is more in the vein of, say, Bruce Springsteen or Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers than Jackson Browne's usual more introspective and sometimes brooding style. He sings about running on without knowing where or why. The ideals or purposes of youth seem to have vanished over the years, and he is running on empty, running blind. The band backs this up perfectly with a driving, straightforward heartland rock sound and David Lindley's wailing lap steel guitar. Running on Empty, the song, was extremely successful in Canada, reaching number 4 there and almost made the US top 10, thus becoming one of Browne's most popular songs. Just like the entire album, this track may not be very indicative of Browne's usually more low-key style, but who cares when classic rock radio comes a-knocking? This is a song that expresses the American highway perfectly, or Forrest Gump inventing jogging. Very fitting with the album's theme, it continues with a song called The Road, written by an American singer-songwriter called Danny O'Keefe. This is a melancholic, quite evocative tune, painting a bleak and forlorn picture of blues in old motel rooms, coffee in the morning, cocaine afternoons. In Browne's rendition, the song becomes somewhat of a swan song for the soft rock scene that was quite burned out and hung over in the late 70s. The track was indeed recorded in a hotel room, at least its first half, which is carried by a wistful melody on David Lindley's fiddle. But in the middle, the recording switches to a live on stage version with a full band. This is quite fascinating, and I've never heard this done anywhere else. Well, maybe Frank Zappa did it. And for me, The Road, despite being a cover, together with the 2 final songs on the album, is the secret core of the whole Running on Empty album. When you stop, let 'em know you got it down. It's just another town along the road. Well, it isn't for the money, and it's only for a while. The following Rosie was recorded backstage with Jackson Browne on piano and a bit of background singing. The straightforward, slow song tells the story of the sound desk engineer from a road crew who picks up a girl before the show and lets her in to see the band, but then frustratedly has to watch her being taken away by the drummer afterwards. It's a bittersweet tribute to the uncool or invisible members of a touring band. Rosie, by the way, is not the girl. It is him and Rosie again tonight instead. So it could be a bottle of Four Roses whiskey that he's caressing in bed. But there's also a quite likely theory that this alludes, in fact, to masturbation. I'm gonna get into YouTube trouble with this just because of Jackson Browne. Okay, next track. You Love the Thunder. Like the title track, this is an unusually rocking number for Jackson Browne. It makes use of his female backing singers and describes a temporary and very temperamental relationship. As a single, You Love the Thunder didn't perform too well, maybe because it's a standard 70s rock song, but it's very fun to listen to, especially if you like some thunder in your relationship.
You love the thunder.
And we end the album's first half with the folk blues classic Cocaine with slightly adapted lyrics. This is a slightly ramshackle, rugged recording from a motel room, very earthy in the moment with acoustic guitar and David Lindley's fiddle again. Allegedly, the white powder was not only involved in the lyrics. Side B starts with the more relaxed Shaky Town, written by guitarist Danny Kortchmar. This song has got more of a country rock style. It features a very direct, great vocal performance from Jackson Browne. And in the lyrics, again, the attraction of the road is evoked, but also the unsteady life on the road with a bit of melancholia. I quite like this song, even though it is maybe not too special. Track 7, Love Needs a Heart, is an interesting collaboration because it was written by background singer Valerie Carter and Little Feat's Lowell George, both names that should play a crucial role in Browne's songs for his next album. Love Needs a Heart is a tasty piano rock ballad about the inability to give or feel real love. Love needs a heart, and I need to find if love needs a heart like mine. There are a couple of great lines in this song, but for some reason, this is the least memorable track on the album for me. Also, the next one is actually nothing special if it hadn't been recorded on the tour bus. One can hear the engine humming in the background while Browne and his band have some fun with an unambitious acoustic bluesy jam called Nothing But Time. And the song is about exactly that, touring from town to town. Another highlight comes at the end of the album. The loadout once more encapsulates the theme of the album. It is a love letter to the routine of touring, the roadies setting up the stage, the band waiting and wanting to play for the crowd, and then after the show, driving to the next place at night. The song contains quintessential lyrics about the feeling of being on tour with a band, and this tribute to the road crew is a live and concert recording. It begins with only Browne on the piano. Slowly David Lindley joins on lap steel guitar, and eventually the whole band sets in, giving the song a great momentum. Now the seats are all empty. Let the roadies take the stage. Pack it up and tear it down. They're the first to come and the last to leave. We just pass the time in our hotel rooms and wander around backstage till those lights come up and we hear the crowd and we remember why we came. Browne even lets us know what they are listening to and what videos they are watching on the bus in this song. This is just an endearing, lovely testament to the rock lifestyle of the 1970s.
People, you got the power over what we do. You can sit there and wait, or you can pull us through. Come along, sing the song. You know that you can't go wrong. 'Cause when that morning sun comes beating down, scheduled to appear 1,000 miles away from here.
The loadout was recorded live on stage. You can also hear the audience, and the band directly breaks into a fun rendition of the doo-wop classic Stay. But in this context, especially with the lyrics from the loadout before, the song takes on another meaning. It is the band begging the audience to stay so they can play another song. This is a charming gesture showing that a band needs an audience. This version is also known for ridiculously goofy falsetto vocals provided by David Lindley. What better way to end this live diary than with a true crowd pleaser? We hear the audience applauding and cheering in the end. Stay was also released as a single and made it to the US Top 20, and I believe it was the only Jackson Browne single to really leave a mark in the UK charts.
As the promoter don't mind, and the roadies don't mind, if we take a little time and we leave us all behind, sing one more song.
Running on Empty is Jackson Browne's most rock and roll release and also one of his most accessible ones. And that is also reflected in its charts performance. It reached number 3 in the US Billboard charts and to this day remains Jackson Browne's most popular album. I find this album really fascinating because of its unusual approach to a live album and because of its unusual recording places. We get a glimpse of the band after the cheers and the roars of the crowd have faded away, and that really conveys the feeling of following the band around on tour. There is a straight rock and roll vibe on most of the songs, but especially the lyrics and the atmosphere of a lot of the tracks also strongly hint at a touring band not only being all fun and games. I've also always liked the cover of this album, showing a black and white, a little bit abstract highway landscape with a huge drum set in front. The album also, I think, came with an insert showing lots of photographs of Jackson Browne with his son, the various band members, the band on stage, etc. Really worthwhile looking at. This is a very recommended album. Fans of 1970s rock music, of American rock, if you don't already know and own this one, I think Running on Empty will be right up your alley. Thanks for watching, and maybe see you again for another Murdock Music Minute. Bye bye.